Hello, creators, and welcome to Rediscovering Be Something Wonderful, where we revisit timeless classics from deep within our video archives. What if your desire has already fulfilled itself? What if the moment you desire something, the means, the end, and the entire plan of its fulfillment are already contained within that desire? In this video, you'll rediscover why you never have to figure out the how or make your desire happen. You'll discover why pure desire is the creative impulse of I am, why the flower already exists within the seed, and why accepting your desire as already fulfilled reveals the means of its realization. Because your desire isn't asking you to fulfill it. It's asking you to accept that it's already fulfilled and already yours. Now, let's rediscover the extraordinary simplicity of consciously creating the life of your wildest dreams. Welcome back to Be Something Wonderful.
Several questions came up, not only during my coaching sessions yesterday, but also on the channel over the last 24 hours or so, and I really want to hit these questions. One of the first one was, Tom, how do I raise my vibration to manifest what I want while dealing with 3D conditions? That was one of them. The other one, isn't desire a low vibrational state? And I believe they were referring to the Hawking's scale of consciousness, right? That calibrates certain levels of consciousness. We're going to cover that briefly here, but there are other videos on the channel about that. And then the other question is, what about ego desires, like wanting more money versus helping others or manifesting better health or world peace? What happens? Are ego desires less likely to manifest, or how does that affect manifestation? So I want to go over that. So here's what I want to say to start today. And we're going to hit all of these questions during the lesson. But I want to say that when you ask the question, how do I increase my vibration and manifest what I want while dealing with 3D conditions, what you're saying is you're denying who you really are. I touched on this yesterday, right? Remember, you are I am awareness. You are fulfillment. You're already a completely enlightened being, right? You're vibrating at the highest level ever. But it's covered up by your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about who you are. So that's not really the question. The question is, how do I align with my heart's desire? That's what we're going to go about today, right? Because you already are that I am awareness. And it's not about modifying your desires. There's nothing wrong. It's not the desire that's the problem. It's not whether the problem is for money or world peace. God doesn't judge your desires, any of them. None of them are more important or less important to God or to who you really are. So it's not about modifying your desires, right? All desires are divine. And all of those desires are so you can know yourself. Remember, all desire comes from the desire of the divine urge to know yourself as source. Hear this. And then the idea of desire, yes, on the Hawkins scale of consciousness and on the others, there's other scales out there as well. His is well known. He has it goes from 0 to 1,000. The lowest being shame and the highest being enlightenment. And beyond enlightenment is the unity of all that is, consciousness, right? And 700 and plus is enlightenment. And love and gratitude comes at a calibration of 500. Desire comes in at 125, which is low, right? It's in the contracting or the fear-based states. Fear's at 100, so it's just above fear. So on that scale, yes, but what is he really talking about here when we look at this? That's when you're desiring and wanting without moving to your wish, without knowing that you're already that. That's if you're stuck in a state of wanting and desiring it, without moving to it. Do you see the difference? That is then a low state of consciousness, or in other words, a low frequency. Right? Remember the Hawkins scale, and there are other videos on the channel if you want to search for that. And I'll do more on this in the future. But that scale of consciousness is based on frequencies, right? From 0, he calibrates them from 0 to 1,000, right? And remember, frequency is the speed, or the speed and the frequency that a vibration is moving. Remember, vibration is, remember that everything's about energy, vibration, and frequency. That's what Nikola Tesla, his famous quote, right? If you want to learn the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, vibration, and energy, or energy, vibration, and frequency, right? So everything's energy, and that energy is vibrating, but it's not going anywhere. It's just moving back and forth. And then the frequency is the speed that it's moving. In other words, the number of times it's completing a cycle within a certain measurement of time, right? But that's what we're talking about here. And so desire, yes, calibrates at 125, but why? Because that's assuming that you're desiring and wanting. It's not moving to the intention of already having it and being it. Let's unpack this today like we never have before. So the only question that I just wanted, before I go on, the only question ever you have to ask is that desire, whether it's for more money or world peace, for better health or for helping others, or for a car or a house or love in your life, whatever that is, the only question is it coming from a place of love? In other words, an emotion of love or an emotion of fear? Because that's the only thing that determines what that desire is going to vibrate, what frequency you're going to be on. Is it a frequency of fear or is it a frequency of love? That's the only question. You can have money or world peace. There's no judgment. They're both important because they're important to you. If that's what you want, that's what you want, right? God does not judge you in any way. You can be, do, or have whatever your heart desires. The question is that coming from a state of love or an emotion of love or an emotion of fear? So really, let's unpack this today, guys. Remember, when you ask the question, how do I raise my vibration while dealing with 3D conditions? Well, you're never dealing with 3D conditions. Hear this loud and clear. It's not about raising your vibration because you already are vibrating it. You're just covering it up. But you're also not dealing with 3D conditions. Everything is consciousness. Everything's spirit. Everything's God. Behind everything, back of everything that you see and perceive and, quote, deal with is God or spirit. It's all consciousness. It's all awareness. You're never dealing with 3D conditions. That's where we get stuck. Because it's only our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs and assumptions about reality. It's not reality. Do you hear this? It's only our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that we're dealing with conditions, that we're dealing with reality. And it's not. They're just thoughts about reality. They're just beliefs about reality. They're just assumptions about reality. They're not reality, right? When you're fighting with, right, complaining about, reacting to 3D conditions, or just simply wanting to improve things, you're focused on the desire, the wanting and the desiring. That's why that calibrates at. That's why one of you commented, isn't that a low vibrational state? Yes, it is when you're wanting and desiring because you're focused on the desire for things to be different, not the fulfillment of it or the desired end. Do you hear this? Your focus is on the desire. It's on holding on to the seed. Remember, the seed is desire and not dropping the seed in that creative soil. You're holding on to that, not the fulfillment of it, not the desired end. You want to drop the seed and hold on to the fulfillment. Drop the seed and hold on to the desired end. And this is what Ernest Holmes says. I love this quote. The florist will find the flower before the seed. And what is Ernest Holmes saying here? In other words, the florist sees the end. Knows what it wants. It knows the rose. It feels the rose. It sees the rose. Even before it deals with or before it even sees the seed, right? The desire. And within every seed or within every desire is the plan of fulfillment. See the flower first. See the end, right? And then drop the seed. So here it is. Here's your flower. That's your desired end. That's your wish fulfilled. That's the mental equivalent of your desired end, what you want. Find the flower. In other words, drop the seed. Because when you're not finding the flower or the imagined end, you're holding on to the seed. worrying about when, how, and where will this manifest, right? Drop the seed and hold on to the fulfillment. Remember, your seed equals the desire. In other words, drop the desiring and wanting and move to the fulfillment of the desire. That's what we mean about dropping the seed in that creative medium, in that creative soil, the infinite intelligence of God. The plan of fulfillment is in the seed. You don't have to worry about the when, the how, or the where, right? That keeps you from finding the flower first, from finding the desired end, the mental equivalent. It keeps you holding on to the seed and you're not dropping it. Do you see that? But first seek his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. That's Matthew 6:34. First seek the flower. Right? That's the kingdom and the righteousness, right mind, thinking of the end, thinking of that fulfillment, right? Feeling that fulfillment. And then everything else will be added to you, right? Acceptance of the end automatically wills the means of realization. This is Neville Goddard. So big today. So pure desire or intention is the divine urge to express yourself as consciousness. So we're not talking, when we talk about pure desire, we're not talking about the state of wanting and desiring as depicted on the scale of consciousness, on Hawkins' scale of consciousness, right? Where he calibrates desire at 125 and love at 500 and fear at 100. We're talking about pure desire is your intention or the divine urge to express yourself as source, as consciousness. Consciousness always wants to express itself, always wants to create. God is a creator. So are you. You were made in the image of God, right? It's created from the emotion of love, from I am awareness. That's pure desire. That's the difference. It's an intention to have what you want because it's already yours. It's coming from love. It's coming from that I am awareness. It's an expression of who you really are. It doesn't matter what the specific desire is. It's without judgment. If it's world peace, great. If it's money, great. You just judging that and thinking that world peace is more important than money. And now you're judging God. Everything, remember, everything spirit, all conditions, every desire is the spirit of God. The only difference that it makes is whether you're desiring it, wanting it, intending for it out of love or out of fear, right? Out of lack, out of scarcity, right? Or out of abundance, out of gratitude. Do you get this, guys? Your attention is moved within. It doesn't matter what the specific desire is. Your attention, with pure desire, with intention, your attention moves within. But desire fueled by the thought of fear, by the thought of lack, by the thought of limitation, keeps your attention on the outer world, right? Judging the unwanted and wanted, good or bad, judging everything, holding on to the seed in a death grip and the image of your desired end, right? You lose the image of your desired end when you hold that seed in a death grip. In other words, when you're judging outcomes, when you're judging conditions, when you're in a fear mode, you're holding on to the seed, you're not dropping it, and now you lose the image of your desired end. You'll lose the flower. Remember, the florist finds the flower first, and that holds on to the fulfillment, holds on to the mental image, and drops the seed and drops the desiring. And then God does the rest. That creative medium brings it. You don't have to do anything. After you plant the flower, you might have to water it, let the sun come in, right? But other than that, God does the work, right? That flower grows. So remember, reality is received within. Nothing happens out there. Reality is received within, right? Pure desire is timeless. It's beyond time and space. It's the intention. It's an immediate shift within to the identity and version of yourself for whom that desired reality is already real. In other words, you've found the flower and you've dropped the seed. That's what finding the flower and dropping the seed means. That's pure desire. That's pure intention. It's an immediate shift within you. Reality is received within, for whom the desired reality is already real. And you've dropped the seed, right? You're in that identity and version of yourself, for that is already real. Desiring and wanting keeps your attention on trying to make something happen out there, right? Holding on to the seed. It's linear and limited, right? It comes from fear. Desiring is the assumption of not having what you want and needing to manifest it. Do you hear this? When you have a pure intention, it's not about manifesting. It's about assuming that state. It's about becoming it. Right? When God desires something, God becomes it immediately. Right? Wow, that's big. So holding on to the seed, the desire and the desiring, implies the possibility of non-fulfillment. Not only the possibility, it implies non-fulfillment. If you're holding on to the seed, it can't be fulfilled. You're not dropping it into the creative medium. There's no chance. Non-fulfillment is the only option if you're holding onto the seed. It invites thoughts of doubt and fear. You're holding onto the seed and going, I wonder if it's going to manifest, and it has no possibility because you have a death grip on it. Do you see this, right? It keeps you trapped in processes and techniques, and then you try to go get another process or another technique, or you try to firm your way out of it. In the meantime, you're not looking in your fist where you're holding on to that desire, where you're holding on to that disease. You just get that seed. You just got to release it, right? Moves your focus of fulfillment of your desire. You've lost the flower. You've lost the image. Your focus is no longer on fulfillment. You're trapped in the swing circle, as we talked about in golf. You're trapped in techniques and trying to make something happen. But here's the key. Here's the key, guys, and this is big. It's not about manifesting your desires or trying to raise your vibration or trying to resolve unwanted thoughts and feelings or conditions in 3D. It's none of that. It's about moving to the assumption of your wish already fulfilled in your desired end and allowing the creative divine soil of God to bring it into full 3D manifestation. Do you hear this? It's not about the 3D conditions. That's spirit. That's God. That's I am awareness. Everything is God. So it's not about dealing with that. It's not about dealing with your thoughts and feelings. Those are also coming out from awareness. And they're not reality either, right? They're not ultimate reality, right? And so it's not about trying to resolve any of that. What is your only job? To find the flower, to find the image, the mental equivalent. Hold on to that. Hold on to that desired end, and God will do the rest. Drop the seed in the soil, and God will bring it to full fruition. That's how your every desire carries the plan of fulfillment within it. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. You can follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. We have a group called the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors. You can find us at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. Lots of people are joining. That's an open group where you can share guidance and insight with others, ask for guidance or give guidance, share stories and advice and help. It's really a great group. You can do that. And you can also join us at Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, or just go to our website anytime at tomkearin.com and besomethingwonderful.com. It has all that information, also on coaching and much more. tomkearin.com, besomethingwonderful.com. Until next time, guys, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude, this is Tom, Creators. See you soon.